So the suspect in the Chelsea, New York, and New Jersey bombings was identified. And they don't know whether or not he's part of a terrorist cell. 29 people were injured in the Chelsea, New York bombing. His name is Ahmad Khan Rahami. I urge you all to consider the bigger picture. Terror bombings seem to be spectacular to the media, to Americans. They get a lot of views on TV, on social media. It's one of the only reasons I bother to cover them, because people watch them and these videos get more views. And I can get things out such as my top martial arts challenge, which will conclude in 3 months from tomorrow. $3,000. You can beat me, nothing to pay if you lose. $25 to show, but recently I've been paying people $40 just to show as we draw nearer to the end. I'm over 100 victories, no losses in my life. And I've been covertly drugged and fumed. Look up gang stalking. Type in gang stalking Salinas. The police admit it's real. But mental health, quote-unquote, professionals go on to pretend that it's not. And it makes you wonder, why are thousands of Americans being followed by police? And there's been reports of Freemasons involved that are valid reports. It seems what a lot of those quote-unquote conspiracy theorists were talking about dark clandestine activities by secret societies, has been verified through not only the MKUltra, which the Scottish Rite funded on record, eugenics, which was coined by a Mason and guided on record by Masons since its beginning, since its onset, but also this newer phenomenon known as gang stalking or government harassment, group stalking, organized stalking. So why are these highly suspicious people not being followed, but political dissidents are being singled out? Well, no matter how you slice it, America is obviously more evil than the terrorists. Bear with me now. They not only are complicit with the terrorist acts by watching innocent Americans and political dissidents instead of the terrorists, but they are also killing millions of people every year with their foreign policy. I mean, psychiatry alone, which is biggest in America, kills 500,000 people annually in Western countries alone. And you look at the millions of babies aborted, when you're looking at the human cost and the loss of life and the death rates, absolutely neocons and liberal progressives with their progressive agenda, incremental. Just like when you're a social planner, you think about the long-term effects of your policies. So these people aren't just looking at progress for liberals, making a more gay-friendly, feminist-friendly world, which they seem to be accomplishing as feminism is spreading like wildfire. And the homosexual rates around the world are rising, which also proves the people right who were talking about the twin studies and how they prove homosexuality a state of mind and not a genetic trait that's expressing itself per se. So yes, mind control is very real, and it's directly connected to propaganda, communication, and psychology. And marketing is a big part of this as well, as the pharmaceutical companies spend billions marketing. So these terrorist attacks are a symptom of a much worse, much more deadly, much larger problem. This Ahmed guy, he injured 29 people? I mean, so fucking what? How does that compare to 500,000 people dying in Western countries alone from psychiatry? It doesn't. These terrorist attacks are nothing. They're meager wages for the devil, one could say. While the devil is really interested in preventable deaths. Some years we have almost 100 million preventable deaths. On the low end, there's 60 million preventable deaths a year around the world. And America is the biggest actor on the world stage, if you will. It's funny how they call it a stage and life a game, and Americans actors. Because they're trying to disassociate themselves from reality. The people in charge really have complexes. I mean, what is ISIS? What is Al-Qaeda and all these? These are insignificant little groups of thugs who barely harm anyone compared to the eugenicists, the scientific racists, the social planners. We live in a society where good men are shunned and bad men are celebrated. And then to draw your attention away, they say, well, there's this bomber out there. He's on the loose. You know, make sure you keep an eye out. Focus on these terrorist attacks and these stabbings and mass shootings, which no doubt are being provoked by intelligence agencies. I know firsthand from my experience with gangs, my experience with mental health, being a target of gang stalking with 11 witnesses. I urge you all to see my playlist, 9 Witnesses to PsyOps, or to the psychological operation against me. And it's now 11 is at the end of the title under my playlist section on this channel. I have 11 witnesses. Some of them prove that 2 of them prove that I'm being fumed, and 1 proves that I'm being drugged. And these people are doing things in a way. Oh, I also have witnesses to the phone hijacking. These people are doing things in a way that feeds into the idea of schizophrenia. When you look on Healthline, they describe delusions as something contrary to what is commonly believed. Well, all throughout history, society has had misconceptions, especially now. And people who are more educated or have done more research or have more, firsthand experience in this subject tend to know better than what is, than the average person, what is commonly believed. So it becomes a matter of corrupt experts in the field and victims with those who are aware trying to stick up for them, and therefore the latter 2 groups are played out as mentally ill, delusional. And when they send you covert messages, if the government has sent you even 1 covert message that you can prove, especially, from that point on, it is completely disingenuous to assume that this person is delusional. Now he has a good reason. I'll give you another example. Let's say the police, or not the police, the gangs shot at somebody. And from that point on, the person was wary, every time he sees the gang members. Is he delusional and paranoid? Now let's say the police have pulled someone over and accused him of doing something that he wasn't doing. Is it logical for this person to assume that he's not going to get a fair shake from the police, or is that fair? So when they have been caught on record sending me a covert message, if I was to hear voices or something and believe that those voices were coming from the government and they have the technology on record, look up synthetic telepathy, V2K, there's mainstream media, Daily Mail, and other sources that prove that these technologies exist. They have patents. Russia is testing them out on civilians, so why wouldn't we? And of course, we have the longer history of non-consensual experimentation right here in America. Google that. There's very interesting articles on that with a lot of valid sources. But I don't hear voices. But I'm saying the argument is that Part of the description of psychosis and schizophrenia includes delusions and hallucinations to this effect. But once the government has been caught doing one thing, or any group of people has been caught doing one thing that has to do with a covert message, hallucination, delusion, or anything like that, that has to do with what people commonly perceive as that, everything else must be thrown out of the table, off the table. You can't turn around and say someone like me is delusional no matter what he says is happening, unless it's extremely extreme, such as being taken, to outer space by an alien or something, which almost certainly couldn't be true. So now they're in a position where it would be insane for them to say this guy's delusional, because he has on record them typing in the word ass, and he has about a dozen videos of them hijacking his phone consistently, and his phone only works when he's outside. So the government is terrorizing me every single day, and they're using dozens of people to harass me every day, and I have them on record. And I have the police 45 minutes away in Santa Cruz, the Santa Cruz lieutenant at that, admitting gang stalking is real, and that this stuff goes on. It's been going on for a long time. But mental health and the propaganda machine are trying to pretend that that psychiatry is a valid science, which it could not possibly be, or else they wouldn't be able to use, the lack of a valid test in psychiatry to play people out as crazy, which they have historically done since before drapetomania, accusing runaway slaves of being mentally ill, was applied. So, in America, the main concern is not Islamic terrorism, radical Islam, Islamic fundamentalists. It's actually scientific racists and scientific Masons, because they're the ones who come up with the technology and abuse it on political dissidents. They're the ones killing sometimes 100 million people a year. They're the ones harassing, stalking, and abusing at record rates, record levels. These Muslims, are barely harming anyone. 29 people injured. There's more than 29 people injured any given day in Compton. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? So, when all is said and done, don't forget that the government is harassing uncontrolled political dissidents for not choosing one of their schools of thought and living by it. That is your main concern. Your freedoms, the government that rapes, vandalizes, stalks, harasses, and sometimes kills people very frequently, and is nonstop.
To accept the challenge, the $3,000 top martial arts challenge, comment below.